Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about paw prints stained glass style. So these are little stained glass paw prints that can be either you can hang them from your window, or I made a magnet with one of them. So there are some steps involved to making these. Number one, you're going to use 22 gauge bare copper wire to make the support loops, and there's 4 methods that I'm going to show you. You need to foil the glass, solder the items, patina, and then add chains or magnets when you're finished. So this is 22 gauge copper wire. Now you can find an object like I have right here to use to wrap your wire around. So this is method number 1. So you can find any objects that's the right diameter. And I use needle nose pliers to make the wrap nice and tight around the object that's the correct size. And now I would make 4 of these because I believe that the paw print should have 4 little circles. And so I would make 4 of them. And I would make these circles close together. No matter which way you want to make your circles, you can you'd want to have them close together. Now this is a wire bending jig that you can buy. It has like this gridded support system and then all these different size round pegs that you can use, and you can wrap your wire around the peg. Now I did not have much success with this, although I tried it again and again to try to get it to work. But anyways, you would use this. They come in various size pegs, and you find the peg that's the correct size for what you want. And I'm just twisting it after I wrap around the peg. So I'm actually going to end up having 10 millimeter pieces of glass for this. So that's the size I'm going for. And that's one of the pegs. I ended up taking the peg off, and I tried using a variety of pegs and twisting them around, but I could never get it to work exactly like I wanted to. So I stopped using this method of making my loops. The next method that I tried is I bought a couple different items that you can use. So this is what I'm trying to do, is to make that wrap around the stone heart. And I want it to wrap properly around. So no matter what you use, you're going to want to make it fit around the stone. Now you can use a wire bending tools. These are winding rods or wire wrapping pliers, and they come in set diameters. So there's all different diameters you can get. And this is what I really like this method, because it just seems to be a larger space that has the correct diameter. And either this or the pliers seem to work a lot more accurately and faster. So that's gets your 4 little circles. And then this is the other thing, the pliers that you can use. You can wrap around with these, and this works very nicely also. And then I just use needle nose. No matter what you want to use, you're going to want to use needle nose probably to do the crimp on the other side of the circle. I even used ovals at times when I made some other paw prints, and I ended up making the circles and then just kind of stretching out the correct size circle to make the oval that I needed. Now we need to foil our object. So you can cut standard 7/32 inch copper foil lengthwise in either quarters or in half. So this is the brand that I use, and I use black line stuff for most of my work. This particular foil really has a good sticking power. So you can see I'm cutting that in half, and I'm using half the width when I am foiling one of my little heart stones. Now, when I buy stones, I like to try to get them that are translucent or transparent because I want light to go through them most of the time. If you're just making magnets, obviously you don't have to worry about light going through them. But if you think you might want to hang some up on the window, you probably want light to shine through them. So you're going to want to choose your stones accordingly. You can see right now I'm burnishing it down so it's nice and smooth because you really want it to stick as thoroughly as possible. Now these are the small 10mm stones that I am foiling. Now I'm foiling this with only the quarter width of your 7/32 inch foil. And here again, you do need to burnish it down nicely. Even more so, I think, with when you have very small objects like this, because you're really not wrapping the foil around the object that much. So you're dependent on the thickness, the stickiness of the foil itself to hold the stone or glass to your objects when you're done. So you want it to stick as well as possible because you don't want it to fall out. So, if it was wrapped around, then you're going to have it the solder to end up being wrapped around, and that would hold your object, your stone or glass, into your project. But if you just go on the edge like I'm doing for this project and a lot of other projects I do, I want to be able to see as much of the stone or glass as possible. I don't want a really thick seam, so I just want to use just the edge of it with the foil. So I really have to burnish it down as much as possible because I want it to stick really well to the glass or stone so that it stays together. So now that you have all your parts, the next picture shows your parts. You got your wire, you got your little round stones, and you got your heart. Now you need to put it together to solder it. So as you can see, I didn't really bend the wire completely yet. I am trying to solder it as flat as possible. And when you make your circle of wire, you don't want to have it, really big. You want it to be pretty much the exact size you want. So there's not a whole lot of crack between your round stones and your wire. So that's why it's really tight, and that's just the way you don't want it to be too small, obviously. And then for around the heart itself, I'm like bending as I'm going. As you can see, the wire being only 22 gauge, it's pretty bendable. So you can bend it as you go to get the exact shape you want. Now, of course, you could use thicker wire if you want to, or thinner if you want to. It's just that this is about as thick a wire as I've been able to find that's really flexible enough to be able to do a project like this and still have it flexible. If it's much thinner, it's just not going to be as strong. So that's why I'm putting wire around these objects instead of just soldering them together, because I do want this to stay together and have some strength to it. Now these right here are actually faceted gems, so they're not just flat. These are like, you call them rhinestones. When you buy these, I like to get them without the opaque backing on them. If you do get them with the paper back on them, you would probably want to take that paper off so that you can see through the stone completely. Now I do have a video showing how you can get the backing off of gemstones. It's just kind of a pain to do, but you can do that if you need to. It's just better to be able to find gemstones that are the size you want, the color you want, and the price you want, obviously, because you can end up spending a lot of money for stones if you don't watch it. I always buy glass or stone. I don't buy plastic or resin because obviously, we're dealing with heat and the solder, we don't want the solder to melt your project. So if you buy stone or glass, you won't have that issue. Now, when I'm doing these paw prints, I'm soldering the back side, I'm soldering the front side, I'm picking it up and soldering the edges. I'm making sure that it's obviously soldered all the way around. And you can see that little loop on the side there. That's so I can hang a chain on it. So that really depends on what you want to do with it. If you're going to want to hang it up on a window or something, you're going to want a loop for the chain to attach to. Now they're kind of fun to use different colors. This is obviously, kind of a wild paw print color, it's green and yellow. So it's whatever you want to do. I'm using, right now I'm using a liquid flux, and I'm using 60-40 solder, tin lid solder. These are very small projects, so I'm just doing it on a little cardboard box with some a piece of silicone underneath my soldering, just so it doesn't stick to the box. I'm actually using 2mm solder right now, as opposed to the little bit thicker solder, but that's really up to you what solder you want. Right now, this is what they look like when they're done, and I've cleaned them thoroughly and scrubbed them so they're really clean, and now I'm going to patina them. So I'm going to put them in a pile, and I usually spray my patina on, but for some reason my spray nozzle was really clogged. So, when I poured it on, I didn't mean to pour quite this much. You really don't need very much patina, but it kind of spilled. But anyways, you can really see how it reacts. The solder reacts to the black patina. And the next one, watch the next one. So you can see that silver right there, and then as soon as you put it in the patina, it turns completely black. So patina is it's very toxic, so make sure you're wearing gloves, but it's also very good at making solder the color you want it to be. So I now do not have silver paw prints. I could have, but that's not what I wanted in this project. Well, I hope this inspires you to make some little paw prints, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.